Texas Coach of the Year, 19 years building Allen High School into a state powerhouse. Justin Quest is here to tell sports parents what coaches wish you knew. Let's go. Welcome to the very first episode of Level Field Hub podcast. I'm Joel Urano, and there's no better way to kick this thing off than with someone who is already part of the Level Field Hub team, whose story sets the tone for everything we're building here. Justin Quest is the head tennis coach at Allen High School in Allen, Texas. In 2025, the Texas High School Coaches Association named him Texas Coach of the Year, an award that isn't handed out by committee or boardroom. It's voted on by his fellow coaches across the state, the people that do the same job he does. Looked around and said, that's our guy. And when you look at what happened in Allen 2024, you understand why. His girls double team, Walker and Craig, won the Texas State Championship. His Eagles reached the state semifinals. But if you talk to Justin, the trophies aren't the headline. The process is. Justin is already helping shape what Level Field Hub is becoming. He co-leads our LFH coaches space alongside with Troy Simonek. And starting today, he's joining me as co-host of this podcast. Some episodes I'll run the conversation, some episodes he will, and sometimes we'll do it together. So you're not just hearing from a guest, you're meeting the other voice behind the show. And speaking of what we're building, we launched the Level Field Hub community over at my.levelfieldhub.com. It's free to join. That's where players, parents, and coaches can get connected in one place. Whether you're a junior competing or adult who's never stopped, or someone who's raising the next sport superstar. Justin lives in the intersection that most youth sport conversations miss, the one between what coaches need and families actually provide. So today we're starting there. What does great coaching actually look like from the inside? What do coaches wish families understood? And how can you, without a clipboard or a whistle, become a better part of your kid's development? Justin Quest, let's get into it.
Appreciate you having me, Joel.
Yeah, welcome. So you were just named the Texas High School Coach Association Tennis Coach of the Year. And the part that matters most is that your peers nominated and voted for you. What does it mean to be recognized by the coaches you respect?
Well, it was a big honor. I was fortunate enough to go and accept the award in front of the Texas High School Coaches Association. And I think it's, over 1,000 members strong, kind of across sports, and there's no better honor to be recognized by your peers. And I think as coaches, we're really in it for the kids, and that's why we do it, and that's why we spend all the early and late hours doing what we do. And accolades are those, and I think we like to see our kids, but it's nice to be recognized, especially by your peers, and I guess recognized for your hard work. A lot of times we're looking at our players to push themselves, etc. And I think sometimes we don't worry about ourselves. So anytime you get a pat on the back, it's a good thing. So,
yeah, that's terrific. Well, what drew you to high school tennis specifically? I mean, there are a lot of places to build a coaching career. Why here? Why Allen?
Well, it's a great question, Joel. Well, upon graduating from high school, and I'm a high school 4-year guy who played high school tennis and had a great experience in Lubbock, actually Monterey High School. And my coach made a massive impact on me. He was not a real talkative guy. He wasn't a super emotional guy. He kind of ran everything by the book and was kind of what we call an old school coach. And upon graduating, I had always planned on, being a director or being in the world of tennis some way, somehow. And I said, listen, I'd finished up my collegiate career in the summer. I think I had to take another summer class. And when that was done, I called my old high school coach and I said, I'm looking for a job. And he said, well, I don't really know much right now, but I know that where I got my start, they're looking for a head tennis coach. And it was in Monahans, Texas. I had no clue where Monahans, Texas was. I just knew it was out in West Texas, very far west. And so Monahans is actually about an hour and a half west of Odessa. And he connected me with the athletic director there. And before I knew it, I think I didn't even walk the stage in my graduation, and I was already into high school coaching at I think I just turned 22 years old, and I was a head tennis coach at a small 3A school. That had a pretty rich tradition in terms of just athletics, and had a wonderful year. Got to the state finals my first year. I really didn't know what I was doing in terms of coaching. I just knew I loved the sport, and I got a group of kids that really bought into whatever message I was sending out at that time in my life, and we upset the perennial powerhouse in Mason, Texas, which is still have won, I don't know, several dozen state championships. I believe when we went down to the regional meeting, and at that point in that stage in 1998, they seeded 16 teams in the regional tournament. And I was a young man and a new head coach in a room full of head coaches that had been doing a long, long time. And I remember distinctly saying, as they nominated seeds, the top four, going, listen, guys, I think we're pretty good. And upon getting voted down all the way down to the 16th team, we faced the number one team in the state, defending state champions, the Mason High School powerhouse. And we ended up knocking that team off in the first round. It's sent shockwaves across the state in 3A tennis, and knocked off two or three more seeds to finally lose to Vernon High School in a rain-shortened format in Abilene, Texas at Rose Park. So fantastic experience. The teaching was a little rough in terms of what was the duties in the classroom, but the tennis, it was a great experience. It was a great experience.
Well, there's a version of youth coaching that's all about the trophies, and you certainly got one at the state title. Um, and the other version that kind of seems to be out there is it's about developing the human beings. Those aren't always the same thing. How do you navigate that tension?
Yeah, I think that's a great question too, because you're trying to build and push each athlete towards the team goal or towards a common goal. But every athlete, as I've been in my 23rd and 24th year now of coaching, I've learned that every athlete's very different and they come from a very different background. So a button that you might press and motivate somebody might demotivate another. And so I think you really have to get to know your athletes and get to know kind of where they're coming from, and what background do they bring to the table, because they have a lot going on. They're trying to balance academics and family. They may have a broken family. They may have not the support at home, and so you kind of become sometimes the father figure. You become just the supporter. You become the only person they can lean on, and
Right.
sometimes you're just a cheerleader. So
Yeah.
I think what I've learned is it's not a cookie cutter business, our sport and coaching in general. It's about kind of finding the niche and creating your own relationship with each kid, and not every relationship is the same. So
Would you say that has something to do with what you're building in a 14, 15-year-old that can't be measured on a scorecard?
100%, 100%. And I think some kids want hard coaching. Some kids can't handle hard coaching. Some kids, they almost have to know that you care first before they can perform. And there's a saying out there, they don't know how much you care until you show them. And I think that's how you can get the most out of athletes, is you got to care about them first as individuals,
Yeah.
and really establish a trust. Some trust are tighter than others. It's just part of it. So
Well, it seems like as part of that building your players, there's the other side of the token there. The other side of the coin is the dealing with the parents. I'm sure you've got kind of all gamuts of parents and the relationship that you've got to have with those parents. What's the honest framework for navigating those kind of relationships?
yeah, I think. in every program there's typically a parent meeting, and I think parents want to know that you're in it for their child and you have what's the best interest of their child, but create that as a whole. In our culture and our teen culture, I like to say that I'm fine with anything, as long as you communicate in advance, and that you don't set yourself outside of the team, or do your best to do so. And I know at these parent meetings we talk a lot about. I generally have a PowerPoint presentation. I'll have former players come in about their experience. Um, but I think too, as a parent myself, I want to know that the individual that's coaching my child has their best interest in mind and ready and willing to do whatever it takes. So when a player asks me to work with them, whether it be 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 in the evening, I'm always going to make myself available. And as most coaches know, we don't work off time clocks. We don't punch in. We don't punch out. We're always on.
Hmm.
And I think if a parent sees that by your actions, I mean, a lot of us can say it by our words, but even to the lowest player on your team, to the highest player on your team, in whatever sport, if you're willing to show that parent that you're willing to go the extra mile for their development, not only development, but just take an interest in them as a person, which in turn really shows, that you care about their development, I think you can get a parent on board.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, what would you say is the most common mistake that well-meaning sports parents make, and how can they course correct without you or other coaches having to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I think I typically see, parents want sometimes maybe too much control. They haven't built that, or that coach or that adult maybe haven't built that foundation of trust through actions,
Hmm.
where that
Hmm.
parent is not willing to let go, and let the coach or adult do their job. I think you have to work in tandem with parents. It's very important because you want their support. Because a lot of times they're getting the athlete to where you need them to be, but you have to build that rapport, with that parent. I think when you don't do that, I think you start to see that push and pull a little bit. Um, so that's kind of been my experience on that.
I see. I see. So, well, so those parents that want to get involved, and yeah, I've seen it too. I've got a little different perspective, but I certainly understand that. So, from the perspective of a parent that's great at supporting their kid, you know, what do you think that actually looks like? From the parent, that the supportive parent, like what does that actually look like?
Yeah, I think it's the simple stuff. Ironically, I think it's getting them on time to where they need to be. It's getting them early where they need to be. Let's say a practice. Let's say a match. Preparing their children, with the proper hydration, nutrition, um, supporting them in team events. In multiple sports, much like mine, we have team dinners and different events that we have that are outside the scope of what is required. Um, and so I think a positive parent, I think of one that encourages their child to be a part of the team, to embrace the culture, to do the little things right, to not be a coach, to be supportive of coaches, but do the little things about, showing up on time, being present, keeping your kid, engaged, and doing the little things like we spoke about, like hydration and
Hmm.
getting their kids tournament tough and ready, um, being kind, and being a good teammate. Part of being a good parent is teaching your child to be a good teammate. If they're a good teammate, they become valued. They become a value in the program, top to bottom.
Well, so as a co-host of the show, and are certainly thrilled to have you part of the team, and absolutely one of the co-anchors of the Court IQ space in our community. What what could you tell coaches? who want to get better at their craft, and and then even one step further, like what made you want to be a part of this?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's a much needed forum and space for parents and coaches to go to gain knowledge, to not only learn from other coaches, but to learn and how to handle different situations. I know that I learn a lot. Everything that I ever have done in coaching, I stole from somebody else. Whether it be a drill I got yesterday from another coach, hey, that sounded great, and it works great, and so I think just providing an avenue for coaches to grow in what they're doing, and actually getting parents on board, and asking questions. That's how we all get better, and so I think it's well needed and much needed. I know I don't know everything, and I'm looking forward to learn and looking forward to educate too.
Well, again, really appreciate you being here. So here's final question. What do you want parents listening to this episode to walk away knowing, about you, about coaches like you, about the junior tennis world their kids are growing up in?
Right. Well, I think one thing is coaches can sometimes get put in boxes, and I think everybody's had a great coach, and a lot of athletes, a lot of parents have had experiences with not so great coaches, coaches that may not be totally invested in either their program or the children in the program. So I want folks to take away that there are coaches out there that are very passionate about what they do, that are completely 100% invested in not only developing the child but developing a program, and that there's multiple ways to get involved and develop, and there's different developmental paths that can make the development road much easier. Because as I've gotten into USTA and been a USTA tournament director for over 2 years now, I've learned a lot about the system, the goods and the bads of both, let's say, the USTA pathway, the UTR pathway. And I think there's a lot of misnomers out there of kind of which path to take or which direction to go. And I'm kind of looking forward to really, I don't think exposing is the right word, but really educating not only coaches but parents on how the best way they can develop their child. Me having a 12-year-old, about to be 13 next week, and a 10-year-old, both right now, currently developing in the game of tennis and really looking how or have aspirations to do big things in the sport. I'm in the trenches. I'm on the battlefield, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to learning along with other coaches and educating parents. So
Well, I've certainly had the pleasure of doing some work with you on the tennis courts, and it's really been my honor. So, Justin, really appreciate the time. Before we wrap up, if this conversation hits home for you, do us a favor: follow, like, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. It's the single easiest thing you can do to help us reach more families who need to hear this message. If you want to go deeper, if you want to be in the room where coaches and parents are actually building this and talking, join our community. Go to my.levelfieldhub.com. That's my.levelfieldhub.com. It's free, it's growing, and it's where conversations like this are going to keep going after the mic turns off. We really appreciate it, and we'll see everybody on the next episode. Thank you, Justin.
thanks, Joel.